All right, we're live. This is Soul of a Fighter, episode 13. A great show up ahead coming up for you guys. We're going to have a breakdown of UFC 218. Great card. Holloway versus Aldo. We're going to discuss the latest in MMA and UFC as well. We're going to talk about GSP. We're going to talk about Dana's comments about GSP and his, continued double standards. We're going to talk about Bellator's tournament, the bad and the good. And we're going to look forward. We're going to look at the end of the year. We're also going to try and talk about Ryzen's New Year's Eve tournament, 3-day event and everything. But, well, let me introduce ourselves. First up is True Temper Rocket, a.k.a. Jim. What's up, Jim?
Well, there's not a whole lot up, but we got quite a few good topics to cover here tonight.
Yeah, we got a lot. We might not be able to get through all of them, but let's see how far we get. And
it's all good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely exciting. Well, I thought we'd just start with UFC 218, break that one down, and then see, we can break it down. We can talk about the different fights. There's a lot of amazing fights. There isn't a single bad fight on there, and there isn't a single fight that doesn't mean anything. Like, they all mean something. They're all they're either top or near the top of their respective divisions. I mean, like, you've got Michelle Waterson versus Tisha Torres. Either of these two women are 1 or 2 fights removed from from a title shot. You've got frickin', I mean, that's like, even if it wasn't, if you got Francis Ngannou fighting Alistair Overeem. I mean, Ngannou is probably the scariest heavyweight we've had in a long, long time. He's probably the scariest heavyweight since Junior Dos Santos and Shane Carwin were at.
I haven't seen him fight, but the little I've read about him, he's pretty vicious.
Oh my God! Yeah, he hits like a Mack truck. But then every time he gets better. He's knocked out like 3 or 4 guys in a row, and then he submits a guy out of nowhere, and every he fights, he adds a new kink. He adds a new something, and he's a freak athlete. And, he reminds me of like a mix of Kane and Junior Dos Santos. Every time you'd see him, there was something else that was whoever they fight, they make it look easy. And he's, okay, he hasn't gone through the same kind of people Kane did, coming up for this title fight. But every guy he's fought has been good. Like, he fought Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades is an up and comer. He's gonna fight for the title one day. He fought some, very decent competition. And look, the last time he fought, he just destroyed Andrei Arlovsky. Andrei Arlovsky is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Okay, he might be on a downward spiral, but he's still a damn good fighter, and walked right through him. Then you've got Alistair Overeem. Whether you're a fan of his or not, you cannot deny it. That man is one of the greatest fighters to ever live. Whether it's kickboxing or MMA, this guy, he's fought everywhere. He's fought everybody, and the man is a legend. So it's just like, that fight is so exciting, and that has title implications. Werdum is ranked number 1. Okay, when he fought for the title, his performance wasn't great. It was kind of a weird performance, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that the man is a legend. Then, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's an embarrassment of riches, this card. I mean, it's not quite as, I mean, like, UFC 217 was special, so is 214, but 218 is just right up there. I think the biggest card of the year will go down as 217 because the way it was built, the fact that GSP was in there, but then every fight pretty much had a finish. The card of the year, but 218 is right up there with it. Like 214, 218, 216 with Tony Ferguson versus that young guy's name, Kevin, whatever his name is. Like that was a great card too. It's just, it lacked in star power, unfortunately, so it didn't do as good as it should have. But those are great cards. I mean, I have to say, UFC are doing a lot of things wrong right now, but when it comes to putting some cards, good cards together, they've done it this year. They've done some very good cards. It's just what they're doing wrong is they're not promoting it. So I'm just going to go through the whole fight card real quick, and then we can discuss each and every one of them. You all right with that, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, prelims, as they call them, the Fight Pass prelim starts with Angela Magana versus Amanda Bobby Cooper. They fight with Justin Willis and Alan Crowder. Then you've got a light heavyweight fight with Dominic Reyes versus Jeremy Kimball. Then you've got a welterweight fight with Abdul Razak Al Hassan versus Sabah Homasi. Then you've got a women's strawweight fight with the veteran Felice Herrig versus Courtney Casey.
That kind of interests me. That one does.
Always, especially both these women are good, but they're like hard-nosed veterans too. Like Felice Herrig, anytime she fights, I watch because she's very good. She's really, really good, and she's very entertaining. She's very I don't know, for lack of a better word, she's very spunky, but people don't take her seriously enough because she's funny, but that doesn't change the fact that she's highly skilled. Like anytime you watch her, she's gonna be. I mean, she beat the freaking.
She's been in it so long. I think that we're probably in for. We're going to see her experience at work. We're going to see two experienced fighters.
We saw her experience at work at UFC Fight Night 104 when she beat Alexa Grasso. Is being like built into the next big superstar for the UFC, and she's a very good fighter and like nasty striking, nasty power, and Felice Herrig did a job on her, man. She won. So yeah, no, Felice, never count out Felice Herrig. Okay, next we have a lightweight bout with Drakkar Klose and David Tamer. That's a great fight because Drakkar Klose basically was the one who upset the previously unbeaten Casey from England, and it was because the Casey was just running through people until he ran into Drakkar Klose and suffered his first defeat. Okay, deciding. Weight bout with versus Yancy Medeiros from the Scrap Pack, trains with the Diaz brothers. It's a great fight. And Alex Oliveira is on a ridiculous run right now. He just, I mean, ever since he's become a welterweight, I mean, he's on a 5-fight winning streak. You look at, like, for instance, his last defeat was that ridiculous gimmick they did, the Cowboy versus Cowboy Fight Night 83 versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Oliveira, Battle of the Cowboys. Well, anyways, that's a great one. You got Charles Oliveira versus Paul Felder. I'm really looking forward to that one. That one's at lightweight as well. Then you got Tisha Torres versus Michelle Karate Hottie Watterson. Any Tornado, I believe. Yes. And this is where it gets really exciting. You got Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje. Now that fight is insane. If anybody's seen Justin Gaethje fight ever against anybody, Eddie Alvarez, I mean, come on, like the man's a legend. He's a warrior. So that's going to be a special fight. Then you've got Henry Cejudo versus Sergio Pettis. Then, of course, you've got Alistair Overeem versus Francis Ngannou in the co-main event. I can't wait. Holloway, Max Blessed Holloway versus Jose Junior Aldo in the main event. 2. It was supposed to be Max Holloway, the champ, versus, which I was really looking forward to, but this ain't bad either. So, like I said, a really, really exciting card. It's just a great card, stacked from top to bottom. And I mean, the first two, 3 fights are probably the lowest profile, but they're all good. Like Angela Magana, lately she's been how do you say, making news for all the wrong reasons, but she's still a veteran. She still beat some very good fighters in her time. Just like lately, she's more interested in making headlines for being a douche than being a fighter. But there's a change. Amanda Bobby Cooper I'm a big fan of hers. Win or lose, she always gives her best, and she's got some of the best boxing in the women's strawweight division. She's really slick. Her dad was a boxer, I believe, so it's always fun. Okay, Justin Willis, I don't know him as well, but I remember him from one thing is he hits really hard. He hits ridiculously hard. He's big, heavy set guy, but he hits like a yeah, I remember watching like one of his regional fights, and it's ridiculous how hard he hits. Okay, Dominic Reyes versus Jeremy Kimball. I cannot say I know very little about either of these two. I remember that Dominic Reyes knocked out the TKO Joaquin Christensen, but I mean, honestly, I can't really say much about him. Sabah Homasi versus Abdullah Rasak Al Hassan. Al Hassan has some nasty power. He knocked out some guy called Charlie Ward, and lost his last fight versus Omari Akhmedov. But I mean, like, that's nothing to. There's no dishonor in losing to that guy. Omari Akhmedov is a nightmare. He's one of those Dagestani dudes who's just like fucking retard. It's retarded how strong he is. So, and he's veteran. Sabah Homasi, he used to fight for Titan. The last time, I mean, his UFC debut, he got TKO'd by Tim Means, which is no, it's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, Tim Means is nasty. Then you've got Felice Herrig versus Courtney Casey Sanchez, I guess her name is now. That's going to be interesting. Like, that's a really good. Okay, how about this? How about we jump and we start from the top now? We just get to the top and then give our thoughts about the main event, the main and the co-main.
Okay.
All right. What do you think?
Well, for the Aldo Holloway fight, I hope Max puts him away for convincingly, so that Aldo doesn't come back with all these excuses and that kind of thing like that. He tends to come up with excuses, and I don't like listening to that.
Yeah, okay. You're not one for excuses.
No, it's either get the job done or get the hell out.
Yeah, I hear you. What do you think? There was one. Okay, let's put it this way. I'm a big fan of Max Bless Holloway, and I'm a fan of Jose Aldo's too. the thing is, like Jose Aldo, without question, is the greatest featherweight that's ever lived. Like that guy is just like you. His legacy is secured. Um, he'll go down as one of the greatest ever. To me, really, he like you can't. He's the greatest Brazilian champ ever as well. I think he's better. You know, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is that was one thing that really intrigued me from the first fight. Is he didn't use a very obvious weapon. I mean, it's a great weapon he's always had. It's one of his best, and that's the leg kicks. Like he's got some of the nastiest leg kicks I've ever seen, but he barely threw any leg kicks. And Max Holloway, actually, if there's one thing Max Holloway, I don't even say it's a weakness, but if he's susceptible to one thing, is leg kicks because of his stance, the way he stands. He leans really heavily on that front leg, and it's just right. I mean, the thing is about, I'm not saying that would have won him the fight because Max does adapt. He does, like, you know, I mean, he's got amazing, he adapts, he's tough as nails, and he also times you. Like, that's what happened in the first fight. Like, round one was all Aldo. Round two started Aldo really strong, and then Max kind of switched it around. Then he timed him and then started taking over and started out maneuvering him and out, like, you know, timing him and beating him to the punch. And then all of a sudden he dropped him with this huge left hook, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember properly. And then, you know, that was the beginning of the end. He just rained down hell, ground and pound, and just beat him to a pulp till finally the ref had to stop it. But like, there was always something that bothered me, is that Aldo did not throw a leg kick. I mean, if he threw a leg kick, it must have been 1, 2, or 3 at the most.
Well, why is it
And
that he didn't throw leg kicks?
Well, according to his coach, but then again, like, that's probably piss you off. But according to his coach, Aldo was carrying an injury in the first fight. Okay, a lot of people hate hearing that, and I bet you hate hearing that. But I was intrigued, so I listened to it, because Aldo, if you can say what you want about Aldo, Aldo is no man's fool. He's not an idiot. You know, he's not a head case. So that really, like, you know, it's something that just bothers you, like something stuck in your teeth. I just wanted to know, why wouldn't he throw leg kicks, especially against an opponent like Max Holloway, who does lean heavy. It's like that, almost like when it comes to his, like, his footwork, his stance is almost Diaz brothers like they lean very heavily on the front leg, and that old pugilistic stance. And that means, like, your leg is ripe for your front leg is ripe for being, you know, for the taking, as far as like leg kicks or oblique kicks, or, you know, whatever, or even takedowns. But I mean, okay, Jose Aldo doesn't really do takedowns. He could if he wanted to, because he's an amazing grappler, but that's not really part of his game. But the leg kicks, man, it's just like, I mean, he leg kicked so many people to death. I mean, the most famous being Uriah Faber. Basically, like, he nearly TKO'd the guy with leg kicks. It's just that Uriah Faber's inhumanly tough and just toughed it out. But I mean, the guy could barely walk by the end. So I was just one, you know, it's just one of these things that bothers you, and that bothers me. And like, when I heard that, I kind of told myself, I guess it makes sense. I mean, it must have been some injury for him not to throw any, you know what I mean? Because, so I'm not, I don't, I'm really excited about this fight. I mean, not quite as excited as Frankie Edgar, because if I could pick anybody to take on Max Holloway, like to beat Max Holloway, I would have picked Frankie Edgar, even over Aldo. I mean, I have nothing but respect for Aldo. Aldo is the greatest featherweight that's ever lived. However, when it comes to styles makes fights, and Frankie, I believe, had the best fighting style, the best tools and craft to beat Holloway. If there was one guy I'd pick to beat Holloway, it would be Frankie Edgar over anybody at featherweight. So, but I mean, Max Holloway versus Aldo 2 is still really exciting. The fact that he has a shot at redemption, which anyways, he deserved to get, you know, another shot. I mean, this guy held the title for so long, the featherweight title, defended it so many times, like, you know. So it's very interesting. It's going to be an exciting fight either way. like they're both exciting fighters, and when they get together, just the sparks are gonna fly. So, like, are you excited about it, or would you have rather like? Are you disappointed that we're not going to get to see Frankie Edgar take on Max Holloway?
No, I'd kind of like to see Max just get rid of Aldo. Just get rid of him. Aldo, to me, he's just a big fucking crybaby, and I'm kind of tired of hearing his noise.
All right, that's a
He
shame.
hasn't said much. He hasn't said much lately, but I remember after. Well, you remember too after McLeprechaun whacked him. It was excuse after excuse after excuse. We listened to that shit for a year afterwards.
I have some sympathy towards Aldo because of the way he was treated prior to the McLeprechaun fight. But however, I see your point. Like, some people just irk some people, and I get what you're saying. But like, I'm still glad to see him get another shot at the belt he lost, because if anybody deserves,
fine. If he can do it and do it convincingly, then fine. But to me, Aldo is just. I think I don't think his heart's in it anymore. I really don't.
Yeah, a couple times it seemed like he was fed up with it because of the way he was treated, because the UFC just, it's just getting ridiculous.
Well, whatever reason, his heart isn't in it. I think it's evident that his heart is not in the sport anymore.
Well, we're about to get confirmation, or we're about to find out that maybe like we got him wrong, because if he comes out tomorrow like the mad Aldo that he was and is, then I guess he might still have a few good years left. So we'll find out.
Maybe
we'll find out especially against Max. Truth will be told with him, man. Like you can't fight a guy like Max Bless Holloway, and be half out, like half-ass it, because it's impossible. The guy's just too nasty. He's too good. So he's going to have to beat that guy. And to beat that guy, you have to be at your best.
Well, Aldo, when he got beat by McGregor, he walked right into a punch. I mean, anybody can do that. It happens to anybody.
Absolutely.
If Aldo had just admitted that, well, I walked into it, McGregor deserves it, and then let it go at that, I don't think I probably wouldn't feel the way I feel right now. I'd probably have more respect for him. But instead, he took the low road, and I just don't. I don't know. You get your ass beat, you get your ass beat. Accept it, move on.
I hear you. Yep. Well, we'll see, huh? We'll find out real quick. Tomorrow night, man. It's all kicking off tomorrow night. I'm really excited about it. It's great. But how about this? How about we discuss the co-main? Alistair Overeem, the Reem, versus Francis Ngannou.
Well,
that fight.
Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the big guy, but Overeem, you can't put anything past him. That guy, he's a good fighter.
No, he's a great fighter. He's a legendary fighter. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's the way I see it. He's an absolute legend of the sport. And
I think you'll probably have a plan, an effective plan to deal with this this monster.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, he's amazing on his own, but then when you look at where he trains with he trains with some of the greatest ever. I mean, like one of the greatest gyms ever. Jackson Wink.
Oh, okay.
Greg Jackson's one of the greatest strategists the game has ever seen. Jackson Wink is one of the greatest MMA coaches and like stand-up coaches. Like whether it's Muay Thai, boxing, striking, he's an amazing coach. I mean, they're both amazing. So it's going to be very intriguing. And I'm not quite sure. I mean, I think he's still works with a French coach from Paris, from CrossFight Paris, and they're a really good gym too. So it's going to be really interesting, man. It's going to be that French team with Anganau and probably one of the most famous and one of the greatest coaching duos you've ever seen, you've ever heard about in MMA. You know, Jackson Wink. Like you can't touch those guys. There's nobody better than them. Next up, Henry Cejudo versus Sergio Pettis. I'm really excited about that fight because Cejudo is on a great. He's on a great run. He had a couple bad results. I mean, he lost to Demetrius Johnson and Joseph Benavidez. He got TKO'd by Johnson, by Mighty Mouse, and then lost a tight decision to Joseph Benavidez. There's no, how'd you say, dishonor in losing to either of those guys. Those guys are bad. Two of the greatest flyweights, you know, the world has ever seen. I mean, if anything, Mighty Mouse is like arguably the greatest fighter that's ever lived. So like losing to him is no dishonor. But his last fight, Henry beat Wilson Heiss. Wilson Heiss is as high level as you get, and Cejudo knocked him out and made him look like an amateur. So that was, you know. So tomorrow night he's fighting Sergio Pettis, aka Baby Pettis. Anthony, the former UFC lightweight and WEC Anthony Pettis. And for years he was in his brother's shadow. Like, what a difference a couple years makes. He's Sergio is probably the higher ranked brother now, because he's had a great run. He's unbeaten in. I don't want to. He hasn't lost in 4 fights. He's on a 4-fight winning streak, and he's fought some really good fighters. He fought Chris Carriazo. Carriazo fought for the title himself a long time ago, and no joke, a pain in the ass to deal with. Chris Kalades, and you got John Moraga, who's been around since the beginning, as far as the flyweight division goes. So you beat John Moraga, you know you're a good fighter. And then probably the best, I can't stop yawning. The best best quality opponent he's ever fought was his last fight, Brandon Moreno. The baby is from Mexico. This kid is badass. He's a great grappler, great wrestler, and Sergio Pettis just out-timed him, didn't leave him any respite. And it was a great fight, but like completely shut him down. And it was a fight I didn't even pick because they're both so talented. Sergio just won, won on points, but it was unanimous. There was no question who won, and it was a great performance, the greatest performance I've ever seen him do. He was. That's why, I'm really excited to see that fight. And as good as Henry Cejudo is, and I have this feeling Sergio's going to do it tomorrow night. I have a feeling that he could beat him. That's really exciting, for Sergio Pettis. But yeah, I'm actually picking him to win that fight. Or the next.
You're breaking up.
Okay. Next fight is Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje. Now this fight is crazy. Dude,
I can't pick a winner there.
Neither can I. I honestly can't. I'm a big fan of both dudes. Awesome. They're both great. They've been around since forever. But it's funny. Well, actually, if you want to compare their records, Eddie fought higher ranked opponents. That's just simply because Eddie fought for big promotions, mainstream promotions, whether it was Bellator, whether it was now the UFC. So he's had his pick of very great, really top level opponents. Justin Gaethje fought some real talents, but also not on the same level. That doesn't mean he's not a good fighter. Like, just ask Michael Johnson. A lot of people said, "Oh yeah, Michael Johnson's gonna knock him out real quick because of his style, because he takes way too much damage." But takes damage, yeah, but he can take it. He wears it well, and he'll walk right through it. That's what makes him such a dangerous fighter, and that's what makes him such a fun fighter. That's why people love him so much. I mean, I used to watch World Series of Fighting, no matter how bad the card was, and believe me, World Series of Fighting used to do some bad cards, but he was worth it. Every time he'd fight was worth it. It was more than worth it, because this guy leaves it all in the cage. I know it's a cliche and shit. That guy literally would do that. Like, he'd walk through unbelievable damage. And even his last fight, which is probably going to be fight of the year.
Oh, yeah?
It only lasted 2 rounds, but lasted a round and a half, but more. It was like Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Which one was that?
It really was. Justin Gaethje versus Michael Johnson. It was the...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But it just didn't last very long.
No. Lasted a round and a half, but boy, was it sweet. It was beautiful. It was the Ultimate Fighter season 25 finale. You know, it was a great. It was a fun. It was a fun card. It was a lot of fun card, but I mean, like, unfortunately, people are gonna forget. People are gonna forget this the rest of the card, because the main event was just so good. Gaethje versus Johnson put on such a great show that, you know, I don't think anybody's going to remember the rest of that card. So yeah, we'll see, man. It's I can't pick a winner. I refuse to pick a winner, and it's just too close for comfort. All I know is the winner of this fight are going to be the fans. If you love good fighting, if you love like veteran fighters who let their fists do the talking, my God, are you going to be served? Because both of these guys come to fight. Both of these guys, like, go all the way. You know, they just don't stop. There's no quit in them. You have to knock them out or submit them. But I mean,
yeah.
Justin Gaethje, with his style, that come forward, like, let's brawl style, he's 18-0 with it. So that tells you something. Tells you that, you know, some people just don't give a shit and will fight to.
Well, what you're talking about, Cyrus, is our 2 warriors.
Yep. Ultimate.
I mean, they want to fight. They just don't want to. They're not looking to win. They're looking to beat your ass.
Yeah. Well, this is I mean, it's gonna be crazy. I mean, there's so many good fights on this card. Next is Tisha Torres versus Michelle Waterson. I like really her. Can't pick there. Which one? Tisha?
Waterson. I like the way she fights.
I like the person. She's a really cool person too. I like both of these girls. Both these women are awesome. Like, Tisha Torres is good too. You know, like, she's a freak athlete. She's tiny, but she packs a punch. She's one of the most technically gifted fighters in that strawweight division. And I mean, the same thing could be said as, and I don't think she hits quite as hard, but like, as far as technique and jiu-jitsu and grappling, she's top of the line. Like, she's been training for years, and she held a belt for Invicta, I believe, and she was great there too. One of the greatest women's fights of Invicta's history was her versus Jessica Penne. That was an amazing fight. So, you know, I thought we'd stop there as far as predictions.
Okay.
Because, you know, like, this is still plenty to discuss. Yeah, basically, you want to try and predict some fights before we move on to the next topic?
I really can't. I'm not. Well, you know, my experience with these fighters isn't in depth, and And what I'm looking forward to is some good action. That's what I'm looking forward to because I don't know what to expect. So I'm going into this with a real open mind.
Okay, well we got you're about to be covered. You're gonna enjoy yourself tomorrow night because there's plenty of really good fights. I mean, let's just go down the. Let's go up the list and then we'll make predictions. Like if you want to make prediction, go ahead. If you don't, then don't. Okay. Angela Magana versus Amanda Bobby Cooper. I've got Amanda Bobby Cooper winning. Justin Willis versus Alan Crowder. I'm picking Justin Willis. I'm not like married to that decision, but I'm picking Willis. Dominic Reyes versus Jeremy Kimball. I am not picking because I have no idea who's gonna win. It's just like, I don't seen one of them fight, and that was Dominic. And like, I'm not sure. Abdul Razak Al Hassan versus Sabah Homasi. I'm picking Al Hassan. Like, that's something special about that kid, and he hits like a motherfucker. So I'm picking him. What about you, Jim? You got a pick on that one?
No.
Okay, next up is Felice Herrig versus Courtney Casey Sanchez. I am not picking that one.
Well, I tend towards Herrig, but I'm not. Okay. I'm not going to pick. I'm not going to pick her for sure.
Okay. Then you got Drakkar Klose versus David Tamer. I'm going for Drakkar Klose. I mean, that's another tight one. Then you got Alex Oliveira versus Yancy Medeiros. I'm not picking that one. I'm going to be rooting for Yancy, even though I'm a huge Oliveira fan. But I mean, it's just, I've been watching Yancy for years, and this kid is just so talented. It's all about between years with him. Like he works so hard on outside of fighting that sometimes it's hard for him to train properly and come in on weight. But I mean, ever since he's moved to welterweight, he's looked like a different fighter. So. Exciting. Then you got Charles Oliveira versus Paul Felder. I'm definitely picking Felder on this one. Definitely picking Felder. And Felder's a fighter I really enjoy ever since he came into the UFC a few years ago, and he's put on some great performances. He's had his setbacks because he always fights top fighters. I mean, I think his second or third fight in the UFC was against Edson Barbosa. I mean, that just tells you everything you need to know. Edson fucking Barbosa. And yeah, I'm going with him. Okay, next up is Tisha Torres versus Michelle Watterson. I'm not picking that one either.
I just know Michelle, and I'll enjoy the fight, but I really can't say that she's going to win. I enjoy watching her fight, though.
Yeah, so you're rooting for Michelle Watterson. That's basically what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, then you've got Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje. I am not picking. I'm not picking that one. It's just too many things could happen. I mean, this is how crazy this fight is. And
too many things.
Yeah. Okay, next up is you don't have a pick for that fight either, do you, Jim?
What, Alvarez?
Yeah, Alvarez versus Gaethje.
No. That could go either way.
Absolutely. Next up, you've got Henry Cejudo versus Sergio Pettis. You know what? What the heck? I'm going to go for Pettis.
Well, I'm going to take the other guy, Cejudo.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, you can't really go wrong with this fight pick. I mean, Cejudo's favorite, and he's favorite for a reason. I have a feeling that Sergio's going to do it. Okay, and then of course, the co-main event. Alistair the Ream Overeem versus Francis Ngannou from Paris, France. Exciting. So,
if Overeem can last into the deep water, I give him a chance. But if he doesn't if he can avoid this guy for the first couple of rounds, then he's got a chance.
I have a feeling that that's exactly what he trains at Jackson Winks too. So I'm sure they came up with some really good tactics. Gonna have to protect that chin because Overeem has never had the greatest of chin, and this guy finds your chin like you wouldn't believe. It's frightening how good he is. So
yeah,
leading towards Ngannou. So we'll see. Whatever happens, whether he wins or loses, man, I'm going to be a fan of his for a long, long time. I like guys who fight like that. And then, of course, you got the main event. Max Blessed Holloway versus Scarface Aldo.
How much time did Aldo actually have to get ready for this fight?
3 weeks to 2 weeks. He did not have long at all.
That works against him right there.
Of course it does. Of course it does. It's it's a last minute thing, but we'll see. Okay. Like I said, great card. Great card. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next up, I thought we could talk about Bellator's heavyweight tournament. The good, bad, or the bad and the good, whichever way you prefer. But they announced it last week, and they're gonna have I think it's gonna be an 8-man tournament or a 16-man tournament, 8 on each side, and then it's like elimination brackets. So they'll trade, and then I think it's once every 3 months. The 2 guys are paired together will fight it out.
Yeah, I posted an article about this heavyweight competition, and when I first heard about it and I read about it, I thought, wow, this is great. This will separate the men from the boys. And then I had a comment on the post saying that well, it's only going to be any good if the best are there. So this fellow was insinuating that the best fighters weren't going to be in the tournament.
Yeah, well, that's kind of self-defeating, isn't it?
Well, what do you think? Is the competition not really up to snuff, or what?
No, competition's fine. It's just, how can I put it? They've got some really good ones. I mean, Roy Nelson's in there, and Roy Nelson's a test for anybody. He hits that hard.
Yeah.
You got Matt Mitrione, who's worth any, he's just as good as any heavyweight, except for the top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
He's always fun to walk, and he's also really good. Just with you, what they did is they tried to make sure they had Chael in there to make it as much of an event and as big as possible. The problem is, and I mean that's personally, they left out too many real heavyweights. When people go watch a heavyweight fight, they like to see monsters. They like to see larger than life people.
Yeah.
Or so I think that's the mistake. I don't even know if you can call it a mistake, but people like their savagery. They like guys like Francis Ngannou, and
well, we are going to get I think we will get the best out of this group. It's just it's just a group of guys, and we're going to get the best out of it. That's all that's what we're going to get.
We're going to get the first fight is, if I'm not mistaken, Rampage versus Chael. Rampage, okay, fine. Rampage is heavyweight enough times, but I mean, Rampage at his best, that is, just destructive best, was light heavyweight in Pride and in the UFC. He was actually champion in both. He was a UFC light heavyweight champion. He dethroned the great Chuck Liddell. But then Chael was he's a big, strong, middleweight. He's no heavyweight. I mean, power to him. He's brave, and he's gonna go for it. But They left out a lot of really good heavyweights. Like they left out Bobby Lashley. Like I couldn't believe he wasn't even one of the alternates. Then you've got, it's like half the people competing in the original bracket aren't even English. I mean, sorry, aren't even what am I saying? Not even English. Half the people heavyweight tournament aren't even part of the division. They're either middleweights, light heavyweights, or what have you. So it's just, you know, it's a bit of a mess. It's almost like they ran out of heavyweights at Bellator, but they've got plenty of them. They just didn't use them. So that's the negative part I have to say about it. It's going to be exciting. It's already exciting. Chael's going to sell the hell out of everything. They've got Rage, you know, on speed dial. So that's, you know, it's always a good fight, but it's just odd. It's really odd. And, you've got Fedor fighting in there. You've got Mitrione fighting in. I believe it's Mitrione versus it's going to be Mitrione versus Big Country, Roy Big Country Nelson. So that's the second time they fight. The first time was just spectacular. Knocking him out cold, knocking Mitrione out cold in the first round. There's plenty to like. You know, I'm not going to miss any of them. You want to see it, but it's just, I guess it's the way it was announced or whatever. So it made it a bit, you know, awkward for people to go and you know, like go and watch that fight or follow it properly, because even the way they announced it, it's like there's not going to be like a night where it's nothing they used to do. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be sporadic. So we'll see. Add on this subject, Jim?
What's that?
On this particular subject, or are you good?
No, not a thing.
All right.
No.
Okay.
I'm just kind of curious to see what happens with the winner of this competition and where he goes from there.
Yeah, well, basically, whoever wins that tournament is the official champion, which is great. But at the same time, it's like, why did it take so long? Because like they had a legit champion in Vitaly Minukov falling out over, you know, like I think money or something, or promotion. Like they weren't promoting enough, so he just left them and went back to Russia, where he fights for Eurasian Fight Nights. So. Or Fight Night Global, they call them now. And, you know, that's great and all, but, you know, it's the thing is, like, once they have a champion, they have to get him to defend, and they have to, like, make it legit, because otherwise it's just going to be a gimmick. Like right now, this tournament is exciting. It's fun. It's a bit odd because of all the middleweights. And then today I just heard that Rory McDonald signed himself up as an alternate, in case anybody gets injured. And it's like, come on, like, you know what, like, not against anybody, but it's like, this is a heavyweight tournament, and now we're having a say Rory's a tall welterweight, but still, you know, it's starting to get a bit confusing now. So we'll see. Okay, I was thinking we could discuss Dana's latest comments on GSP. Like, I don't know if you read them or heard them. He's been talking a lot about, I mean, you know, like basically ever since GSP announced he was coming back, he's had some negative stuff to say. But like recently, like George put on an all-time great performance coming out of like a 3.5-year hiatus, and doing work on Michael Bisping, taking his belt, and just like, it was a great performance on what is probably the best card of the year. It's almost like you'd think Dana's disappointed. Like, it's almost like he sounds like one of these fans that was rooting for the other guy. He's just like being really passive aggressive about it. The other day he was going on about how, like, oh yeah, if GSP doesn't, he has to to face Robert Whitaker, because if he doesn't, it's wrong, it's not fair, and everything. But it's like, to me, it's just so hypocritical and double standards, because they got the ball rolling with all of that. You can't blame GSP for something they've been doing for years now. Like avoiding certain people, letting certain people do whatever they like, whenever they like, and then like it's either the same rule for everybody or.
Well, I don't think anybody is giving any credence to what Dana says about GSP.
I hope not. But well, there'll always be idiots out there. You know what I mean? Like, there'll always be idiots at the very least.
Oh, yeah. Out of the blue today, I got in an argument with a McGregor wannabe.
Aren't they a ray of sunshine?
Well, it came out of the blue. I had no idea that this guy was just looking around for somebody to argue.
Trouble.
Yeah, just looking for trouble. What an asshole.
Are you sure it wasn't Mick Leprechaun himself? Because when you hear about some of the stuff he's been up to,
I don't. That guy, he can do anything he wants and he gets away with it. Just anything.
It seems that way, doesn't it? Like he said like a week before he used the F-bomb, but whatever, fuck that. I mean, for him to attack a referee in the middle of a fight, because it was the middle of a fight, the referee hadn't called off the fight yet, even though he was about to, and he obviously should have, but he was, he never had the chance because Mick Leprechaun came to the cage like a madman. And now, okay, that's not even the half of it. The worst part is his just like one thing after another, like getting into trouble with the wrong sort of people in Ireland. And I mean, Ireland's a beautiful country. But there's, like, you don't want to fall in with the wrong people over there, because, the Irish are tough as nails. And the Irish, when it comes to violence, man, they're really good at it. And the hoodlums, they're a different kind of people. Like, I read somewhere today that
he's trailer trash.
Well, he behaves like it, that's for sure, man.
Well,
he definitely behaves like it.
If it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck.
Jeez. I mean, it's just like one thing after another. Like today, I believe it was today, there was a picture of him on the courtroom on the arriving in court for like unpaid tickets or some nonsense. Like, the guy's out of control. So
yeah,
in the middle of nowhere, let people walk around it.
I read that. Yeah.
Like,
I read about that.
People like to dump all over John Jones and say that he's not, he's the worst thing ever. But like Conor, if he keeps going like this, he might end up worse. Because it's like he doesn't even realize like the error of his ways. Like the most shocking one was him attacking a ref, even though like he didn't try and like break his arm or whatever, he still attacked the ref. That's like, it's interesting. Like, watch this space. It feels like every day or every other day you hear some but I mean, like, that's nonsense. So I guess, like, how about you call it a night tonight, Jim, and then we finish up. We like I'm gonna do a recap on Sunday morning or Sunday evening of the tomorrow night's fight card. Particular
Sunday, you're going to do this?
Yeah, I'm going to do this Sunday. If you want to join in, you're more than welcome to join in, as always.
All
I
right.
don't know. Like, you know, we can do episode 13B on Sunday and like have our immediate reactions on
The
Sunday
fights,
evening,
yeah.
and then you know, like and then wrap up this episode together,
Mm-hmm.
or you know, whatever, like and then you know, like wrap it up and then cover the topics that we didn't do tonight.
Sure.
All right then. Well, anything else you'd like to say before we
No, I'm
basically it's
kind
taking
of excited to see this fight card.
yeah, it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. But look, and we'll see you Sunday afternoon.
All right then.
Jim?
Yeah.
You all right, man. Okay, this is Jim. This is Cyrus from Soul of a Fighter, podcast about fighters and for fighters. We'll see you Sunday afternoon.